Okay, so the menace. We talked about the menace and the way that he ends, and it's with his daughter because his daughter is identified as one of the forwards.
So what he does, he goes in and destroys the archives of anybody who's a forward,
No,
so
um,
that those people can't get caught.
oh, that's a good idea.
Hmm.
That's a good idea. He goes in and finally does one good thing because he's pretty bad during the entire fucking thing.
In the last maybe two shows, he
Well,
turns it around.
yeah, and that's it. And then because no, when he finds out his daughter is
Hmm.
on the list, and then he has a scene with his daughter, and he's like, "Why are you here?" And she's like, "I've always been here. This is where we come, Daddy."
Nice.
And then he's like, "What do you mean this is where we come?" And she's like, "We've always been here. Come on, let's take a walk like we always do." And then he realizes his daughter has always been there. It's not like he hasn't known his daughter, he just hasn't known that his daughter has been in dream space.
Hmm.
In the meantime, the government is just like, we're going to put an end to all this bullshit and
Hmm.
they're going to burn the town down and try to kill instead of just send, because he's not killing them fast enough, or they just feel like it's too much manpower to go kill them one by one. They're just like, we're going to destroy that whole, just
Because a
destroy.
lot of them have migrated to a certain town,
Exactly.
an
So
abandoned town.
exactly. So they're just going to kill them all. They don't have to really answer any questions. They'll just say a fire started and what have you. They're going to try to destroy the whole town.
Hmm.
And by that point, Delia's really ill, like really sick, because it takes so much energy to do everything that she's doing. But she's got the little girl of the foster parents who, who wanted to go back. That's the distraction. During the distraction, they want to go back. But they wanted to take the little girl back, and the only reason they wanted it is because they want the foster care money. They didn't want to do any work. They wanted what the government was giving them, you know, off the foster care.
Hmm.
So,
Keep in mind, the foster parents did not treat the kid bad at all.
no, no, no. There was no abuse. There was
No
nothing like that
abuse,
going on.
no, no. They
Uh-uh.
treated the kid well, but it was all about the money though. So.
Right. They weren't really trying to be parents. They were more like handlers. They were like, okay, and we have to show the state every month that you are actually in good health, and we haven't abused you. But they had no fucks to give about the little girl anyway. But they wanted that money.
Right.
And but once they went to the dream space, and once they made the sojourn, they couldn't get it because the sojourn, once you make the choice to make the journey, you're not gonna get no money like that. It's like what we talked about. It's like, hey, I'm a cook. Hey, I'm a farmer. Great, I will provide you with goods, and then you will cook for the community. Great, and nobody's asking money. There's no money. There's no money for anything.
Right.
Hey, I'm a seamstress. Great, I need clothes.
Hmm.
And in return for the clothes, for the time that you spend sewing the clothes, I'll watch your children. It's like that. It's more
Hmm.
like a barter system. It's more like, this is my gift or my talent. We use our gifts and our talents. And when we use our gifts and our talents, that is what helps us to evolve, because we're not spending energy looking for money. It's the dollar chasing that keeps holding us down. It's almost like if you said, like I'm saying to you, hey, I got a movie idea. You're saying to me, okay, I can edit video.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't talking about money.
Mm-hmm.
That's how this system works. So, and it does work, but some people are still looking for money. Some people want more. Some people miss the old life, and that's the distraction, because it distracts from the true evolution, because they truly want it. They can't separate themselves from the old life, and they can't separate themselves from what used to be. They want the car, they want the house, they want they want the bullshit. So
But in forward in the
dream space,
possible future,
you get all of
you
that.
get all that, but
It,
it's not. And everybody's rich, but it's not rich. It's everybody's
everybody's
prospering,
everybody's prospering.
and you get exactly what you want. You get exactly what you need, and there's no, and everybody pays it forward. So
Right,
you
but
don't
if you
have to
don't want to
necessarily
pay,
pay
but
it back to that person that gave you something,
mhm.
but you give it to someone else, and everybody has this philosophy of paying it forward.
Right, exactly. But if you don't want to pay it forward, if you just want to get paid for doing nothing, like they were doing off the little girl,
Mm-hmm.
then you got to go back, because nobody in dream space or nobody in the new town is going to do that for you. What do you have to give?
Right.
Do you want to work on the farm?
But see, it's all about energy too.
Mm-hmm.
The energy that people exchange.
Oh, Lord, talk about it. Preach it, preach it, preach
Oh
it.
yeah, let me get the phone. The energy that people exchange is of that. If you're not following that system, you are expelled from the forward civilization. But if you keep rejecting it, you get even more sick, and eventually you do die. So there's no way out on this. You have to move forward, or else
Evolve or die.
you evolve or die. Anybody who is not evolving at all, let's say those who weren't chosen or not doesn't have that gene, they also will die. And so either you have to move forward or you die.
Exactly. And
And
that's
people are going to be wondering, for people who are like, well, I wish I was, I mean, I want to live this life. Well, you probably just didn't have it in you in the first place.
exactly. And the thing is, all you would do is fuck up the works anyway.
Because you don't have that
You don't
energy,
have, okay.
that
And so
gene.
let's talk about the missing. The missing are the people with the gene that the government is trying to get away with. The only way you can get to the dream space is if you have the gene. The only way you get the gene is through the mark. That's how you're told
Mm-hmm.
that you are part of that you're even part of it. You will get the mark. And even those without the mark can evolve, because they will start to evolve. But it's either evolve or die.
Right.
And if you don't evolve with us, or you don't evolve at all, then either you're going to sit here and die on your own, or the government's going to kill you just for knowing the forwards.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good to me.
It sounds amazing. It really does. Everybody who has heard the plot has said amazing.
Yep.
So, but with the menace, we really have to work that out, because he's really got to be somebody that you hate. Like, you'll know on sight that he's no good.
Mm-hmm.
You'll know, but he will come across as just, oh yeah, I got you, I got this, and that's how when he comes into the dream space, nobody knows he's the menace.
Right.
Nobody has any
He finds
idea.
out where you live in the
He
current
finds out where
world.
you live in the current world. First he finds your name, then he goes on the computer and finds out who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the people have found each other over the internet. So all he has to do is go to your, you know, Oh, I'd like to contact you on Twitter. I'd like to contact you on Facebook. Or just, I guess for the movie, we just have to say, hey, what's your username? So we don't mention any particular network. What's your username? Because remember, like on the guild, they only said the game. They never said which game, but we knew what game it was because of the way everything was designed. We knew that it was WoW,
Right.
and you could just tell it. You knew what it was. But we'll just say that. Hey, what's your username? And and it's like, oh, and that's how he does a lot of his research. Some people will actually tell him their name. He'll walk up to somebody and say, hi, I'm whatever his name is. Because we haven't actually named the menace.
Mm.
What are you thinking about? Well,
Hmm. We gotta think of a name for him
I know. Um,
so that we have something to call him.
exactly. Mark. Well,
No,
Marcus.
Charles.
Perfect.
Chuck. People call him Chuck.
No,
Charles for long.
people don't call black people Chuck.
I know, but they call this guy Chuck. The people who are Ford calls him Chuck, but his real name is Charles.
No, the government people call him Chuck.
Okay, we can change that around.
Exactly, because the people who are with the government,
And they
that's
make
how
and they also
that
make a
is the
little
name
joke
that
out of
they
it.
would know. That's the name that they would know.
It's like, yeah, send Chuck.
Exactly,
And
because
because he chucks him out of the
oh
way.
yeah,
But they
well
make a
no,
little. They always
not
make a little joke.
Chuck. Yeah, it makes a little joke, but you have to be realistic. Black people don't call each other Chuck. That's not a name that we use.
But that's what the government calls him. The code name.
Yeah, and in the dream space, he's only known as Charles.
Charles, right? They only know him as Charles. That's cool.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
And if yeah, and then even black people was even the four people will say, look out for Chuck. Chuck is because it kind of also gives that Chuck the
No,
doll.
but see, that's just it. That's lacking in the realism. We wouldn't use the word Chuck. We never do. That's not anything.
Yeah,
No.
but
So either we're gonna keep it 100. How we could say Charlie. Look out for Charlie.
look out for Charlie. Okay, Charlie sounds good.
Yeah. They call him Chuck, but for himself and for he's either Charles or Charlie. That and also that way that way we don't know who we're looking for because who we'll be looking for is Chuck.
Hmm.
But because we don't that's not the name we use for him, we won't know who they're talking about.
What actor would we be happy to take on Chuck? And I know and that may not happen, but what just kind of give a good look about what looks like who does Chuck look like?
Papa Pope,
Who's that?
Joe Morton.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yep. Papa Pope, perhaps younger.
Yeah, younger,
But I don't think younger would be as menacing.
40s,
That's
50s,
what I'm saying. Papa Pope.
40, 50s.
Yeah, exactly. They have because in order to be that that fucked up,
He has to be wise too.
exactly, and
Smart as hell,
it's smart as
wise as
hell.
fuck, very
Exact.
calm.
And how do you get in the upward ranks of the government at 20? You don't. At that point, they just sent. At that point, you just when I mean, if you're in the government in your 20s, they're basically sending you out for cannon fodder.
Oh, when he kills one of the people, he actually looked up and says, "This is forward thinking."
Oh, and remember what I said about the one thing
Mm-hmm.
where he was on the internet and said, this looks like a good recipe. I'll have
Mm-hmm.
to try it before he goes and kills one of the
Mm-hmm.
others. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be you can't be
He's a
a,
monster. Yeah.
yeah, you can't, but you can't be that at 20. It
No.
takes you years to develop.
To
If you're
develop
a
that.
monster at 20, then your handler needed to come get you at probably 8 years. You just weren't, no. It wouldn't be, they wouldn't be using him as an instrument for
The only
this.
time you see him vulnerable is when he goes to the
What sees
dreamscape,
it?
and then when he finally finds out that his daughter
Yep,
is involved as well.
exactly. And his daughter is involved, and he's like, and the daughter is like, we've always been here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a walk like we always do.
And that'll be a shocker right there when he
E-
sees his daughter for the first time.
Exactly.
It'll be like the last few shows.
Exactly, because he doesn't even know his daughter is there
No.
because he's been so involved with government action. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's been so involved with government action that he hasn't even looked for anybody that all he's been looking for are the people to get to kill.
Mm-hmm.
So when he sees his daughter there, he's like,
What the fuck?
"Oh yeah, what
That
the fuck?"
shocks him, and
Exactly,
he is.
because but it makes sense because of course if he has the DNA to get in there,
Mm-hmm.
his daughter has the DNA to get in there.
Right.
And that's how we okay, and also with the mark, we have to remember with the mark, she goes to the doctor. Delia goes to the doctor, and he's like, "What is that mark? What's going on there?" And she's like, "I don't know. It came up a few days ago. It doesn't hurt. And be sure it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt." He's like, "It looks really red. Did you get bitten?" She's like, "No, I don't remember getting bitten by anything. Nothing. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
hurt or nothing." And then he's like, "Why
We need
don't
to have a good.
why don't we biopsy it?
Mm,
Let me just scrape a few cells." Said not biopsy because a biopsy is a full on operation. He's
right.
like, "Let me scrape a few cells off of that. Check that out."
So he gets like a little scrape tool and scrapes
Exactly.
pieces,
So
skin cells,
she's like, she looks at him like, "Is this gonna hurt?"
and it
And
doesn't.
then the doctor says, "Maybe a little." It's a total normal, you know, patient doctor interaction. It's not anything. It's like he's just like, well, let me get a few. I've never seen. And then he looks at it. It's like I've never seen anything like that.
We need to find a good makeup artist that can do that. That can create the same marks on everybody who has that gene.
Well, all they have to do, yeah, okay, so that would be good. And then and then it's no big thing. She thinks it's no big deal. He thinks it's no big deal. He's like, "Hey, can we run this through?" Then the doctor goes to the lab technician. "Hey, can we run this through?" The lab technician comes back and says, "I think you need to take a look at this." And that's where they find out the weird DNA and the
Mm.
mark.
And it's a rewriting of the DNA in her because they have a blood test too, and
Exactly.
they compare the DNA. And it's like two separate DNAs.
Exactly. And then she goes and tells her friend, her smart geeky computer technician friend, "Oh no, they took some scrapings off of it." And then he says, I've been doing some research. Take a look at this.
So old Samaritan
And
writings.
then, yeah, and then they go back. That's
Way
when we
back, and
go
that's
in
when we start to talk about the
the
show,
history.
the
Yeah,
history.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then that's where we find out, you know, Oya, Oshun, Shango. We find out all of them because that is actually where we come from. So it's like
Do you know it would be nice if you found a person who knows about those histories?
that Jasmine. That is Jasmine's specialty.
Damn it.
I, I know, girl. You don't have to
Maybe
tell.
I need to talk to her.
Yeah, I think so, or somebody. But
I mean, because
you,
you don't have to be involved in the movie writing, but she can give us some history.
that's what I asked her yesterday. I said, "Hey, I just need somebody. I personally don't know this, but or maybe we just have to do the research. But it is a lengthy research because
We want to get the dates right.
and history is written by the victors.
Right. And we got
So
to make sure we get it right, too.
exactly,
Because someone's going to be like, oh, that's false. How you going to do
exactly.
that?
Well, then why didn't you get involved? But neither here nor there. But yeah,
I'm
that's
sure
where they.
Buffy got it wrong some of the times.
Well, that's where they find out
Mm-hmm.
she's a daughter of Oya, and that's why the winds and the storms always come in. And that may be one of the things, like in the awakening, like
Mm-hmm.
the husband wakes up and is like, damn, raining again.
We moved here and there was a drought. It's not a drought anymore.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
A meow, a meow. Stop it. Okay, so that is with the mark. The
Mm-hmm.
mark it and then, you know, but it's no big deal. But then she still has the dreams. And then she starts to keep the dreams separate and silent, just
Well,
starts.
one time, they don't really get into a huge argument, but he said something that really. Oh, one time they get into a huge argument. It can be just be a short scene, not a big argument, but just like a little disagreement. And he says something that really pissed her off, and she's like, "You need to stop it!" And then lightning flash, lights go out. Kind of.
Oh man, that's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because that she has power over
She has
that.
power over the weather. You know, nothing like heroes, but yeah.
Exactly. None of these people are superheroes, but we start to realize the power within ourselves. Like Harold with the animals, and the animals start. We need to talk about Harold. Um, the animals start following him. Like always, like he's got a dog with him.
And he becomes the alpha male.
Exactly. And then it's just like all the animals start to follow him. But Delia always has that cat. Then she actually gets a cat. Let her out. Let her out.
Crazy cat. You know your friends aren't out here.
She has she has no fucks to give. And oh, also, also, she says to her friend, "I think I'm from a time before time.
Hmm.
I am from a time before time." And then he looks at her like, "What does that even mean?" And she says, "I wish I knew."
Hmm.
Tight, right?
Yeah, I like it.
Yep. I am from a time before time. So, okay, so we're getting most of the stuff written. We're getting most of the words. We're getting most of it done. So for the missing, Delia actually, Delia actually tries to call somebody, and they're not there. Her sister, somebody like that,
Mm.
somebody that she would, somebody that she knows, somebody that she would call just on the regular, and then suddenly they don't pick up, and she's like, "Damn, where are they?" You know. But then she picks up a paper and sees that that person is no longer there.
Mm.
And then she's like, "What in the hell?" And then her her geeky friend, he's like, "Delia, I've done some research. Look at how many people aren't here anymore. Look at how many people have gone to jail. Look at how many people are just not here." And she's like, "Are you serious?" And it's like, they're
When you
not
send
here.
them to a mental ward, they pump you full of drugs so that you can't experience that anymore.
Exactly. She's like, and so then she starts to understand the missing.
Mm-hmm.
And so she goes to the people that she's made the connections with. And it's like, has anybody that you've known? And they're like, as a matter of fact, somebody I went to high school with. And then another person says, you know, I was looking for, somebody I was in college with. I was looking for somebody, or just there was somebody I was friends with on the internet, and now they're gone. So then they start to discover that all these people are just missing.
Mm-hmm.
But in interspersed in that, that's when we discover that the menace is on the case, that the government is on the case.
And maybe he's not meant to kill all of them because maybe they want to keep some of them so they can research this thing some more.
Well, that is going to be part of the mental hospital thing. They're not actually going to a mental hospital. They're going
To a research facility
exactly,
because they're trying to figure out how this shit's working.
exactly. And it's like, where are they going? What's going on? And it's crazy. Well, I mean, how will we even shoot that?
We could find an old abandoned building somewhere, lease it out,
Mm-hmm.
and paint the walls white, and have them in where they have cameras and spectrograms and a whole bunch of shit based on the person. Maybe even some. Basically, the mental hospital is not really a mental hospital; it's like a research facility because the menace doesn't kill them all. He always finds a way
But
to.
he gives the names. All he does is give the names.
Right, he gives the names because he can't get everybody because there's too many people. But basically, the people who do go to mental ward, um, they're sent to a facility where they do research on these people. And a lot of these people are left to go ahead and have those dreams. And they put a whole bunch of cameras, infrared, spectrograms, just a bunch of meters on them so they can figure out where the signal is coming from. And this is when they find out that it's coming from the aliens.
Oh damn.
They're like, sir, they actually have a little meeting with the president or something like that. They're like, sir, we found out. Yeah, it's coming from upstairs, something like that. And so maybe we can somehow write that in. This is maybe after we discover that their aliens are involved, or maybe this is when we find out the aliens are involved.
Exactly.
And Delia finds out too because of an accident that happened during when her dreamscapes or dream space.
Because then the aliens try to contact her and
Let her know that they're
that
after you.
hey, they're after her.
Right, and she's got to get out of there. They want to save her because
Because she is the daughter
right,
of the alien.
exactly. So I think that would be kind of interesting thing too.
Oh, Bobo.
Hmm.
Please, I'm gonna get them a leash. Let's see here. Okay, so that's the missing. So, okay, hold on. So for the actual, so we've got Delia, we've got the aliens, and she learns her own, and we've got the history, but we have to talk about the submission. We understand that our history, um, actually, well, that we were brought into submission because of the excellence of our DNA. Um, and it scared people. And what they thought was, what they thought was, we need to submit these people before before they take us out. So they actually understood our excellence, and then this is where we learn our history. But the submission is going to be a very powerful and probably a very painful um, episode. It's where we learn that it's also where we learn how the government does it today. We learned how the submission happened in the past, but we also learn that the submission is happening today, but they're using modern technology to do so. And that's where we learn about the frequency, about how they have the TV and the radio at a certain frequency that keeps us sitting in our chair, or suddenly you need to get a snack, or suddenly you need to go and go out and, oh my gosh, I don't have white pillows, or whatever it is. How they actually program you, or they use the frequencies working on the energy that we already have within ourselves to create a situation for yourself. Or that maybe the certain kids movies, that's why your kids will sit down when they look at Barney or whatever. That's why you'll put something on TV and be like, and then suddenly your kids will sit down, and you will sit down, and everybody will sit down. It's not the actual show itself, it's the actual frequency, but it only affects those of the certain DNA. They try to get the frequency to work on everybody, and it does and it doesn't. But for the people that they want subdued, it does work. And then you find yourself just sitting there, kind of watching, mindlessly watching TV, or mindlessly listening to the radio. There are songs where people can't even sing, and it's not even the song or the singer, it's the frequency that has you listening to it that subdues you. But for the people who are in the forward, suddenly you start to hear this high pitched whine every time you tune into it, where you can't even look or listen to it anymore. You start to, the frequency starts to go wonky. You start to hear like MSNBC, and it's like you start to hear the screeching of the people who are actually talking, or you start to hear that the singing's not really that good, or you start to hear it throws it off because you're going forward, you're evolving. And it's like, okay, and so the frequency doesn't work anymore. Once they discover people for whom doesn't work anymore, that's when they go after you.
But these people
Because
get firmware upgrades.
well, because
Updates.
no, they start to do no, yeah, they start to do that.
And they get updates to
They get
from
these
that.
update. They give you all of these updates, and suddenly
You're being
you're
updated.
updated. You're
Yeah.
try this free thing or whatever to try and adjust the frequency, and they get that information by, "Hi, how did you like that song?" They start to do these surveys, and it's like if you innocently
So the
answer
song
the
sucks.
survey and say, "Hey, this sucks. I can't with this," then they get your name, they get your email. A lot of times they get your number. They get enough information, and then you get on the list of possible forwards.
And the dreams. Oh, babe, listen to this.
Mm-hmm.
One of the shows. There's this young lady, um, college student who is experiencing dream space, and she was, listening to a song on the radio, and she was like, "Oh, that song's horrible," but everybody's digging the song. It's the most popular song on the radio, and they keep playing that song over and over again, and she's just hearing like, why is people are so
A
really into this
high
song?
pitched whine. Every
Right.
time she hears it, a
And
high
she has to
pitched
turn it
whine.
off, and she can't stand it anymore. Well, they discovered that who she is because of how she reacts to the music, and
That's the
but she really
frequency.
doesn't know much about, like, she just started receiving dream space. So a group of people in dream space, they call out each other, because telepathy is very
The
strong,
connection.
the connection, and they say anybody who lives in New York, okay, they get a gathering together. We need to protect this girl in the current time. Okay, so then the people who live in New York, I mean, I'm just giving, like, it could be any city, but let's just say New York, will come out of dream space and go protect that girl and explain to her what's going on and say, you're in danger now. We got to put you in hiding. And they convince her. Of course, at first she's like, "What the fuck? Get away from me, you're stalkers and all that." But eventually she comes around because she sees like this person chasing after her. She's running away, and one of the dream spacers see her and takes her in, and protects her from those people. And so we can see something like that because the people in dream space, they organize there too to keep people protected, to protect people. And a lot of these dream forward people, if they're discovered, they have to go into hiding. So, but in order to hide well, they can communicate with each other in dream space and say, "Hey, where's that guy at now? Where's Charlie? We're calling him. His name is Charles something. We haven't come with the last name, but
The menace.
the Menace. That's the Menace guy. But the forward people call him Charlie. The government calls him Chuck. Like they will say something like, "We're going to send Chuck," you know. And then but the forward people say, "Hey, watch out for Charlie." Well, they always know Charlie's movie because the forward people are all over the country, all over the world, so they know Charlie's whereabouts. Just about, they try to figure out his paths and what he's doing and where the most destruction is happening. As far as okay, we think he's in LA now. Okay, let's make sure we let everybody in LA know. So they telepath their thoughts over to everybody who lives in LA in the dream space world so that they can look out for them and protect themselves and their families too, of course. So, yeah, he does go after their families, which can also be a distraction from dream space. So, yeah, what do you think?
Okay, well, no, that's the distraction. That's
Distraction
why.
is when they
That's
kill your families. Yeah,
yeah. So people pull themselves out of dream space, of course, to protect their families,
to protect their families.
or protect the people who because not everybody can go into dream space.
No, now everybody can go into dream space. Even though you have a child, there's only a you know, thirty
If you
percent
don't have the
chance.
DNA, and if you have, say, a lot of mixed couples or
Yeah,
whatever, they
yeah.
can't go.
If mixed couples, some can make it, some cannot. It all depends upon how that DNA gets transferred from one child to another. A full blood DNA person can. Most will have a 90% chance where their child will have the forward gene. So it's gonna be called like the forward dream, and the name of the dream is what they call it is dream space. Name of the show, forward. But those are forward people, like forward thinking people, and everybody in the dream space world pay it forward all the time. Someone's a car
And they
alarm
always,
going off.
yeah, and they've always wanted it to. They've always wanted it to go pay it forward, and they always will pay it forward. That's the thing. They always will pay it forward. It won't be this no money, no um you scratch my back, I scratch yours. It's just, hey, I have this. You need this. So okay. And it's very different than how we live here. It's like I've got to get in order for, oh, okay, what are you going to give me? What have you done for me lately? Type thing. And it's not like that in dream space. People are happy to give, and it's in a total harmony, because this is where we talk about the balance. The balance is the energy. It is a total balance. People understand. Nobody cares who is with whom. Nobody cares who gets with whom, because all they're doing as getting partners is just they are attracted to that energy. And that energy can come in any way, shape, or form. So it may be two women, two men, it may man and woman, and there's nobody dictating who needs to be with who, and they don't regulate how long they need to be together or how they need to be together. Nobody cares, because we need to be together. We need to procreate, but we also need to be in love. And so we are attracted to the energy. We're not attracted to gender. We're not attracted to having to procreate. We're not attracted to any of that. It is just the energy. And the energy lasts for as long as it lasts. And nobody feels bad about, oh, okay, I'm moving on. Oh, okay, really? All right, great. It's just that way. But until we achieve that balance, the balance is important to everything, because we can't balance our world, because the world actually is out of balance. It is too much of one way. And that's not to say it's a bad way, but anytime that you are out of balance, then you have too much of one thing or too much of the other thing. So right now in our world, we have too much of a balance of one thing, and that's why we are kind of messed up. So so in the dream space, it is achieved on the balance, and we don't have to regulate marriage. If people want to be together for the rest of their lives, they're going to do it. If people want to be together for 3 weeks, they're going to do it. It does not matter, and there is no judgment. And that's the most important thing about dream space. There is no judgment. People make the choices that they make. You have to make the choice to make the journey. And that's always, always the case. And nobody has any fucks to give. Nobody cares about who you're sleeping with. Nobody cares about how you're sleeping with them. Nobody cares about what you're doing in your bedroom. It is what it is, and we leave it at that in dream space.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so that's the balance. So we've written that one. But in the balance, I guess the whole episode is just about Delia dealing with her computer space friend who cannot come to dream space, and then the one guy who can come to dream space, and making that choice. In the end, Delia does choose her friend, because in the end, it's the energy. And while the sexual energy, it may overwhelm somebody for a time, in the end, you want to achieve the balance. And there's a balance there. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that. Ooh, at the beginning of each show, a quote based on the title. So if it's the balance, um, there's a quote, a one sentence quote that explains the balance
Mm-hmm.
and the menace, the this, the that. Kind of like the insights. And so I'm thinking that before the show starts, you just show a quote and then go into the movie or to the show.
Oh, not like that. Like today, I just quoted out, I have no fucks to give.
Right. So all right, that's all I gotta say. You wanna finish it
Okay, so we wrote how many chapters today?
or a lot?
Yep. And that's pretty much where the show is going. That's pretty much where the show is headed. Um, and then we will flesh everything out. And then I will talk more tomorrow. Very cool. Very cool.